Hello ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's your boy Iz33. Welcome back to an Anarchy Analysis Predictions video. Today we're going to be covering the results for the entirety of play-ins here at Worlds, as well as predicting our week 1 set of games for the World Group stages. So without further ado, let us jump into today's video where we're going to be going over the entirety of the play-ins results. So let us have a look-see at the playing group stage in our results that we went with for this part of the tournament so far. Now, it's separated on my Twitter by each day. There's a little gap, as you can see on the tweet, between each one, and it goes down and then across to the one for the last day of the regularly scheduled group stage. Now, there is obviously a couple of tiebreakers, which we'll get to in a couple of seconds, which will be on a different slide, but obviously we'll go over these results here. Now, day 1, we predicted MAD winning, we predicted PSG winning, we predicted INTZ winning, and we predicted Lgd and MAD once again winning. Now, the actual full result for day number 1 of the 5 games, we got 2 correct out of the 5, and that was the MAD and versus INTZ game 1, which is listed as number 1 on that screen, and the PSG R7 game. And I only predicted one PSG win, and yikes, I wish that I didn't. But obviously I knew what form PSG were coming in with 3 subs essentially for the actual playing groups. Now, day 2, which is 7 games in total, I went with V3 winning. SM I've put on my sheet, but it's Supermassive and is their actual name. V3 winning, Lgd winning, Unicorns of Love winning, Mad Lions winning, and Team Liquid winning. Now, the grand total we got on that day was 4 out of 7, which is very good. Obviously, it's over half of results correct. Does equalize the result that we got on the first day of the event. And the results that we got right was the game 1, which was V3 versus R7. We correctly predicted V3 winning. We also got the Supermassive beating INTZ. That was the second game. Then we predicted Unicorns of Love beating PSG. That was our third point. And then Team Liquid beating Legacy as our 4th point of the day, getting our total up to 6 out of 12. Now, 3rd and 4th days where things get interesting, because we obviously have tiebreakers on this day, which we'll cover as I said in a few seconds. But game 1 was V3 versus Lgd. We predicted that correctly. R7 versus Unicorns of Love we predicted incorrectly on day 3. PSG we predicted to lose to V3, and PSG won. Of course they did. I do believe I made a video on a PSG game. I think it was against Unicorns of Love. And Unicorns of Love losing to Lgd we predicted correctly. And out of them 4 games, we correctly predicted 2 of them right, which was the first game and the last game, both Lgd games. Last day of the regularly scheduled play-ins, we had Supermassive taking on Team Liquid, MAD playing Legacy, INTZ playing Team Liquid, and Legacy versus Supermassive. Now, of these results, yikes, there's a few big shocks here. We only got one of them correct, and that was INTZ beating Team Liquid. I predicted an upset. For once, I went with the team that I expected to win that. I just kind of felt that INTZ would somehow upset this Team Liquid squad, and it came out with a big match. And as a whole, our total is, if I do the maths, 3 out of 9, 5 out of 14, 9 out of 21, which is okay considering I've not watched some of these teams play. And I'll be honest, when I was making these predictions, I kind of forgot about the PSG situation, though I think I remembered it slightly when I was writing them out. And they just upset everything. No one really predicted that. And as a whole, that was fairly interesting to actually say. But without further ado, let us jump over to our tiebreaker results here, where we've got a few games to discuss. There's 4 of them in total. So let us jump over to that screen. Now let us have a look at the tiebreakers that happened in the playing stages. We had 4, as I stated, and 2 of them happened on one day, 2 of them happened on the other, hence why they're split up into separate tweets. Now, day 3's tiebreakers saw the Unicorns of Love taking on PSG, and V3 facing off against Lgd. Now, of these results, we predicted a Unicorns of Love win and a Lgd win, and only one of them results came in, and that was Lgd beating V3, which is a shock to me. Obviously, Lgd had quite a poor performance going into this, but obviously when it comes to do or die situations, I expected them to perform. As for the other groups tiebreakers, we had 2 of these as well, Mad versus INTZ and Team Liquid taking on Legacy. Now, these 2 results I actually got bang on. I predicted both Mad and Team Liquid to win, and what do you know, they do win. And that totals up to 3 out of 4 tiebreakers correctly predicted, which is overall very good in terms of results. Now we move on to the knockout stages of play-ins, and we have 2 best of 5s. Now, as you can see on the screen, I predicted an Lgd 3-1 victory and a supermassive 3-2 victory over the Mad Lions. And what do you know, I predicted one of these results perfectly and also got the other actual game winners correct. So in total, we got 2 correct predictions in terms of team wins, and then that perfect win bonus, which I don't keep track of, I just put it on the screen sometimes if I actually get it. So Supermassive beat Mad Lions 3-2, and R7 lost to Lgd 3-0. And that is a big set of results going into the grand finals of play-ins. And what 2 teams here will be moving over to the actual group stages of Worlds. So, play-in finals times, we've got 2 results here, one of which is Lgd taking on Legacy, and Supermassive taking on the Unicorns of Love. Now, the paper I put down, I put for Lgd to beat Legacy 3-2, and Supermassive to lose to Unicorns of Love in a 3-1 fashion. Now, I got the correct teams for both matches winning, but the results were wrong. Obviously, Lgd beat Legacy 3-0, and Unicorns of Love beat Supermassive 3-0, which is a surprise to me because I thought these games would be closer. Obviously, Legacy took some of the other teams in their group to a fantastic stretch, and with Lgd obviously playing 1 best of 5, I thought they weren't the best. Honestly, as a team, I feel that Lgd just are very calculated and they don't take risk. And going up against teams in the actual Worlds groups, I feel that their style's going to get exposed quite heavily. So I expect a few Lgd results not to be going their way from me. So this is the end of the actual playing stages in terms of results. Let's tally up everything in total and give you them results, and then we'll move over to the predictions for the World's Group Stages Week 1. So let us get into our first prediction for the group stages of Worlds 2020. We start with FlyQuest taking on Top Esports in our first game of the day, and for me, I feel this game's a no-brainer. We're going to be giving this win to the LPL first seed Top Esports. I honestly feel they're the strongest team in this tournament by far, and realistically, FlyQuest are probably one of the weakest teams in this group. They're the second seed of the LCS, and the LCS has a track record of not being that strong. That being said, I saw how Team Liquid performed in play-ins. In comparison to Fly, I think Team Liquid are far stronger than what FlyQuest will be at this Worlds, though it's going to be hard to actually tell until we see a gameplay by this team. But as I say, I expect Top Esports to beat FlyQuest in game number 1 of Worlds. Game 2 is Unicorns of Love taking on DRX. Now, watching the playing stages, Unicorns of Love played exceptionally well. They had this very heavy team fighting style that's probably the sort of style that an LPL team goes with. And as a whole, I'd say this is probably one of the strongest independent state teams that have come into Worlds group stages in a long time. That being said, DRX I feel are on a different level to the Unicorns of Love, and I've gone and given this game to DRX just based on experience at Worlds. Like, yes, some of the players on this Unicorns of Love squad have been to Worlds, and the coach Sheepy has been to Worlds, but I don't think this lineup can compete with a top team in the world, and DRX I feel is going to show the Unicorns of Love the ropes of Worlds. Our third game this week sees PSG returning to the world stage up against the first LEC representative we're going to see in Rogue Esports. Now, as a whole, I feel this game's going to be probably the closest so far in terms of results. PSG are going to get their full lineup that won their region back after having the 3 subs during the playing stages, and Rogue are coming in fresh into the Chinese scene, so I feel this game's going to go over to Rogue purely based on experience as a lineup. The PSG roster, yes, has played throughout the entirety of their season together, but at Worlds it's a different caliber, obviously with the COVID situation and players not being able to play on stages, and this is the first time for some people. I feel that this slightly favours Rogue more than it does this PSG squad, because PSG will have had less time together since coming into the world stage, and as a whole I feel that Rogue are slightly stronger than PSG. Next up is a very big battle between the LCK and the LPL. We have the first seed from the LCK in Damwon Gaming taking on the second seed of JD Gaming in the LPL. And for me, I feel that this is going to be an absolute obliteration of the Chinese org, as I've predicted Damwon beating JD Gaming here. And I'm basing it off of their success in their region. Damwon obliterated everyone in the league, only dropping 2 series in the second half of their year, and that is huge in terms of results. And obviously with their buy-in to the grand finals of the LCK, them absolutely obliterating the team they faced off is why I've gone and given Damwon this win in this best of 1. Up next, we have an LPL versus LCK matchup once again with Lgd taking on Genji. And for this matchup, I honestly feel it's going to go over to Lgd, as I feel that their style, though it's more suited for best of 5s, it's still going to have to be good enough for them to advance. And Genji as a team, I think, are probably one of the weaker teams in this group. And yes, I'm saying that based on how their split went, and they had to go through the regional qualifiers. Granted, they did beat T1 and stop Faker from going to Worlds for the first time in a while, I do believe. I don't know if he went to Worlds last year, because I've completely forgot about Worlds last year. But yeah, I honestly expect Lgd to win this. They've got a lot of practice on the current patch against teams internationally, and I feel that they're going to probably do very well against Genji here and probably upset them. And our last matchup on the day is going to be Tsm taking on Fnatic in our Anarchy Analysis match of the week. You know me, I like to cover the EU and NA sort of rivalry. We already covered one of these matches between Team Liquid and the Mad Lions, so we might as well continue on that rivalry with the two teams up above. Last time these two teams faced off, Tsm actually upset them at Rift Rivals last year, though I do believe Fnatic got their revenge in the actual tournament. That being said, Tsm, I feel, are probably the strongest NA team that's been sent here, and TL are performing well. I just feel that Tsm are going to be slightly stronger than them. And Fnatic, in terms of form, yes, they did get swept in the LEC finals by G2, but they still beat G2 to get to the grand finals. But I'm basing it off of form of these players in best of ones. And in best of ones, I think the best of ones sort of style favours Tsm over Fnatic, as Fnatic have kind of faltered in terms of their regular split, though you say they're trying new things like the Soraka for Reckless. I just got a feeling that the way Tsm have been this year, where their success has been found by trying things like, say, the Fiddlesticks in the mid they've picked up a win on, but it didn't win the next week because teams knew that Tsm would bring it. But the River Shen, that's a pick. They've got a carry top laner, and Bwipo really struggles against people who play carry top laners, like against Wunder when Wunder just went off on his Nico against him. It's gonna be a very impactful game, and I feel that Bjergsen is going to control it against Nemesis. Nemesis received a lot of criticism from his regular split, and he only popped off once or twice during the playoffs on his Orianna, so Tsm, I feel, can just outdraft and outplay Fnatic, though Tsm do kind of have a phobia against the champion that was considered the holy trinity of play-ins in Ornn, sorry. So, for this matchup, I've gone with Tsm. It's my Anarchy Analysis matchup of the week, so expect a video around that matchup, and there is another match that we're covering before we head into the next set of games next weekend. Next up, for our first game on the Sunday, is Team Liquid taking on Matchy Esports, and I honestly have gone with Team Liquid here. I just feel that this group is probably the easiest group for EU and NA to get out of. You've got Team Liquid and G2, two of probably the strongest teams that have come from the West region. I would say Team Solo Mid, G2, and Team Liquid are the top three. Fnatic sitting below that, and then Rogue and FlyQuest tied together. And I would have loved to have actually seen Fly versus Rogue as a matchup. We may still see it, who knows, but I would say that's my pecking order of the Western teams here. And Team Liquid, I feel, is just going to dominate Matchy, as well as the other team in their group that's not named G2 Esports. Up next is G2 Esports taking on Sunning Gaming, and I'm wearing the jersey, for Christ's sake, of the G2 Worlds team. You kind of know where I'm going with this prediction, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going with G2 beating Sunning over in Group A. Honestly, this is a fairly G2 matchup heavy, unless they Hakuna Matata down the mid lane and int very hard, like they did do in the regular split sometimes. But G2 in Worlds is a different beast, and I feel that this game, it's slightly favoured towards G2. G2 are a class above most of the Western teams here. and realistically should beat this team in their group. I hope you're ready for our first European stomp that I've predicted in groups. It's Rogue versus Damwon. Yeah, Damwon's gonna win this. Rogue aren't on the same level, though I am a big Rogue fan. I just don't see him beating Damwon. They're so strong here, and realistically, Damwon should just smash this lineup, and there should realistically be no traces of Rogue after this game. Our fourth game of the day sees PSG back on the Rift against JD Gaming. I would say PSG, I want to say PSG, but I'm going with JD Gaming. Based on what I said before about PSG getting their main roster back in, the practice being so little with this lineup, realistically, it's going to be hard for them to adapt and get into a style that will win. So I'm going with JD, who's probably a very dominant team in this group and should be challenging for the top spot alongside Damwon. Probably we're going into the matchup of Group C, Genji versus TSM. This matchup I feel is going to be very explosive. It's going to be close and very, very hard for both teams to actually win. There's a lot at stake for these two teams, as realistically the winner of this matchup should win the group. And I've gone with Genji here. I want to say TSM, don't get me wrong. But TSM, I just don't feel have the same sort of success against Chinese or Korean teams that the other Western teams have. And realistically speaking, TSM may get the upset win. They may be the spice of this group and absolutely decimate a team like RNG. But I've got to say TSM are going to lose to Genji here. And that hurts. I just got a gut feeling that TSM will upset Genji though. Now we have a fun matchup to end out our second day. Lgd taking on Fnatic. Yeah, this matchup I've gone with Lgd. I expect Fnatic to probably pick up at least one win here this week, and it may be against Damwon. Yeah, I'm putting my predictions very, very loosely here. Lgd are the sort of calculated, slow, methodical team that can just kill you, beat you, without team fighting you more than once. Fnatic as a team are very aggressive. Hylissang goes way too aggressive in my opinion, and kind of causes himself to be picked out and picked off by teams. When you're going against a methodical team like Lgd, they're going to know how your playstyle. They're just going to set up clever plays, catch out Hylissang, catch out Bwipo, and punish. That's the sort of style that Lgd play, and that's how I feel they're going to beat Fnatic in this first week's matchup. The Hakuna Matata boys return to the Rift as Matchy Esports take on G2 in the first game of Monday's loaded game day, and realistically you can only predict G2 to win here. I'm not expecting an upset, though you could say G2 get upset all the time by Western teams, but I've gone with G2 here. Should be a very interesting matchup, as these two teams could be a very explosive sort of matchup. Team Liquid versus Sunning Gaming now, and yeah, Team Liquid beat Sunning in my opinion here. It's just down to strength of squad. Team Liquid have Core JJ and Broxer turning up in the play-in stages and carrying this lineup straight through into group stages in my opinion. This squad is just so dominant and realistically will decimate this Sunning lineup. So if you can't tell by now, I'm predicting this matchup for who gets first and second seed in Group A coming down to Team Liquid versus G2. Yeah, we're going to be seeing that soon, so you're probably understanding where my mind's going with that. But for this game, I've gone with Team Liquid. fairly obvious to go with them, and realistically it's the best option as a whole. Gonna keep this one short and sweet. PSG versus Damwon. PSG's gonna lose this one, aren't they? I've gone with Damwon. Not much more to say than this team's just a class above most teams in this Worlds tournament, and they're probably my favourites to win it all. So realistically, when I do my video for the pick'ems for World, you may see a certain trend to this video, as I've stated. Up next is JD Gaming taking on Rogue in a matchup that's probably going to be for third, maybe second place in group. I honestly feel that this match is going to go to Rogue. I'm actually giving this EU team a match here. You just got to expect them to pick up a game, and my gut feeling is JD's going to lose to Rogue here, and that's just a gut feeling over anything instead of basing it off of player stats and stuff. I just feel that Rogue's got to pick up a game in their group. Now we get to Unicorns of Love versus FlyQuest in the second to last game on the Monday. And for me, I feel this game's going to be quite interesting. You got two different styles, and they're quite close in terms of playing. You've got Unicorns of Love, who take you back to the 2018 meta with mages in the bot lane and a lot of crazy picks. You have Power of Evil on the FlyQuest side of things, who just plays whatever in the mid lane realistically, and he's a very potent Ori, which is one of the deadly trio from the playing stages. You've got Solo, who's a very potent Ornn player, so just give him that or set and he's going to be fine. And then you have in the jungle Santorin, who was, in my opinion, the all-pro jungler in the LCS. So I would say that FlyQuest should beat Unicorns of Love here and showcase the strength of the LCS against technically another Western team. Now, the last matchup on the Monday was one that I was considering to make the Anarchy Analysis second matchup of the week. But I've gone for the other game that's in Group A. Sorry, not sorry. But this matchup for me is the pseudo match of the week. This is Top Esports versus DRX. And for me, it's going to be very close. However, I've got to go with the Chinese team. Top Esports, they're gonna win this. Top for me are just probably my other favourites for winning Worlds, and realistically, DRX, I feel they're gonna be second in their group. They're in the other group of death together, and for me, I feel that it's gonna come down to Top and DRX first and second seed, FlyQuest third, and then Unicorns of Love in fourth once the group stages is over, because this is obviously a double round robin in their groups respectively. But Top for me are going to win this game. It's going to be close and very explosive, so it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams perform at Worlds and how their teams are in terms of their actual experience being so little. Moving on to the last day of the groups for this week, it is going to be Tuesday's games, and we kick off with our actual second Anarchy Analysis match of the week. G2 Esports versus Team Liquid. The rematch from the MSI finals. And why I'm saying this is important, well, we haven't had an MSI this year, so realistically we don't know the strength of these two orgs in terms of them facing off against each other, but when these two teams faced off last time, it was an absolute banger of a series. And for me, I've got to say, this game's going to be very close, but they're winning it. G2, hands down, are going to beat Team Liquid here. Even though I'd say that Team Liquid have the better support and ADC, in terms of their actual success this year, I would still say that G2 will come out on top. And I feel that this matchup is very interesting because you've got Wunder versus Impact. Two top laners that, while Impact hasn't been seen as too good, Wunder has played phenomenally this split in the latter half, I would say. He's my all-pro top laner for the LEC. Impact, I'd probably say, is my LCS all-pro top laner in the LCS. Jungle, you've got Broxah, who's finally finding form. His playing stages form was great, versus Jankos, who's had a kind of a rough split considering he was back-to-back MVP in the LCS for spring of this year and summer of last year. And then you have Caps versus Jensen. Caps is my all-pro mid laner for the LEC versus Jensen, who's Jensen. I can't say much more. He's a good mid laner, though he hasn't had that much success in my opinion at Worlds, though he has made semi-finals of Worlds once or twice. Then you have Mickey and Perked versus Tactical and Core JJ. Core JJ, probably my all-pro support. Tactical, Rookie of the Year, versus Perks, who's Perks probably the best player in Europe last split, but not in terms of actual skill. I'd say this year it's going to be close. G2, in my opinion, will win the matchup, but it's going to be, as I say, very, very close and down to the wire between these two lineups. Next we have Sunning versus Matchy, and I didn't know who to predict for this matchup realistically. I feel this is just a throwaway matchup for who finishes third and who finishes fourth in the group for Group A. And to me, I'm going to just throw all the eggs into one basket here and go Sunning's going to beat Matchy here. I don't know why, I'm just saying it. I haven't even written it. It's one of the only ones on my sheet that I haven't ticked. I finally ticked it now. And realistically, Sunning, I just feel can beat Matchy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, prepare for another slaughter of an NA team as DRX take on FlyQuest. As the third matchup on the last day of this week's group stages, I'd honestly say DRX are going to smash Fly here. I just feel that FlyQuest are an unproven team at Worlds, and I haven't seen their success or know about any success of theirs during scrims against Korean or Chinese teams. So I've got to give it to the team that's got the more experience, the better lineup in my opinion in terms of players, and realistically I feel that this DRX lineup are going to probably win their group, and if not, it's going to be top Esports, so you can't give FlyQuest a game in this group here. So let us move over to our next result. Who wants another short and sweet prediction here? Unicorns of Love versus Top Esports. Top Esports wins, and it's probably because pure skill. Now it is time for a double Western takeover as we have Fnatic taking on Genji. If you can't tell what that means, I expect Fnatic to beat Genji here. I feel it's going to be close. It's going to be a good game. Fnatic, though, just need to pick up a win here in the first week to make sure that they're not going to fall into a slump like they have done in the regular split. And finally, our last game for this week to cover is Lgd taking on Team Solo Mid. What a big banger of a matchup to end out this weekend's games. I'd say weekend. It ends on Tuesday, but hey ho. I've gone with TSM. I expect them to probably win this group, if not finish second. As I say, Genji probably will win it, if not Lgd. I'm putting this group as probably the most wide array of teams that could win it. Like, there's a lot of teams in this group that I expect to do well at Worlds, Like, LGD were my dark horse pick coming into Worlds this year as winners of the tournament. TSM, I want to get out of groups, and G2, I expect to get out of groups in terms of their group. In Group A, Team Liquid, I expect them to get out of their group in Group A. And Fly and Rogue are kind of my sacrificial lambs. They're not getting out of groups in my opinion, but I don't know. I just predict these. I don't know how scrims are gone, how the Chinese servers are faring for these players. I see a lot of Western players complaining about how they're doing, but I know that certain players are doing actually very well. I know Treats, who's TSM's sub-support, who's played a few games this year in the LCS, was the first player to challenger from an Western region, so I could only assume that they're doing very well on the Chinese server and getting adapted to how they've played. So I'd honestly say TSM beat LGD here, and it's going to be quite close because these two teams, I would say, have a very similar style in terms of they're slow and calculated. But TSM, obviously, over the past few seasons, have kind of adapted into a more quicker pace. I remember a couple of years ago sitting on holiday watching TSM versus Echo Fox, and all I remember the analysts saying on the desk were, TSM, slow down the game, take it to a crawl, and they have the longest games in the LCS, I do believe, in history, because they go so long, and they just slow it down to a perfect time where they just out-team fight you and win that way. That's realistically how TSM played for the few years, but now they're more calculated, they're more quicker in how they play, and realistically, I'd honestly credit Zix, the coach they had for last year, who made this team a bit more of an early game style team, so who knows. But I've gone with TSM over LGD to end out our week's action. Now, that's the end of this video. I'll be posting stuff on Twitter about each game and how it goes on. I like to do that. I have, though, had a few sleep issues in terms of falling asleep during games this Worlds. Obviously, I'm not used to waking up at 7 AM for 2 days for the actual knockout stages of play-ins, and then obviously waking up before 9 for all the playing groups, and now for the group stages it's 9 o'clock again. Yeah, my sleep schedule's kind of messed up, so I'm recording ahead of time this video, so I'm not going to mess up my sleep. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, subscribe if you want to, follow me on Twitter at izlogic.business. I'll be posting stuff about Worlds there, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.